Yep, that's me sticking a GoPro to the front of the van, and today I'll take you on a wee tour of Edinburgh. I've had quite a few requests from subscribers wanting to see a little bit more of the city, so here we go. I need to be a little bit careful with driving here. As you can see, there's still a sprinkling of snow, and that's one of the things that always surprises me in the city, even with the smallest change in elevation, how much different the weather can be. But what a beautiful crisp winter's day it is, and this is one of the reasons winter's actually my favourite season in Scotland. We seem to get much more of these clear, crisp days in winter than we do in any other season. And thanks to the magic of YouTube, we won't have any red lights or traffic jams on this tour today, and if you've ever driven in Edinburgh before, you'll know that's very unusual. We're just arriving in Morningside here, right at the bottom of Morningside Road. This is one of the most beautiful parts of Edinburgh. But we'll also be visiting the city centre, down to Stockbridge, we've got Edinburgh's old and new towns, we'll go up to the castle, down to the Grassmarket and up through Holyrood Park. So there's plenty to stay tuned for. Now today's tour will take just over an hour, so what I'll do is I'll pop in the description times for different parts of Edinburgh if you want to skip ahead. Morningside is certainly one of the more affluent parts of town, and it's somewhere we couldn't afford to live, but it's a great place to come for a stroll, or have a look around the independent stores and some lovely restaurants here as well. So if you ever are in town, we'd thoroughly recommend coming to Morningside. By the way, I'm not going to put any music on this video, so if you'd rather switch off my voice and put your own background soundtrack onto this, I certainly won't be offended. As we get to the top of Morningside Road, just on the right here you've got Newbattle Terrace, and this is home to the Dominion Cinema. This is one of Edinburgh's beautiful little independents where you can sit and enjoy a movie from the comfort of a sofa, in a cinema that dates back to the 1930s. We're now heading up to Holy Corner, and this is like the end of Morningside and the start of Bruntsfield. Now it's called Holy Corner because there's a church on each of the four corners of this intersection. Much more importantly though, it's the home to Luca's Ice Cream, another Edinburgh institution and a place that I would thoroughly recommend visiting even in the middle of winter. Now we will be continuing on through Bruntsfield to get to the city centre, but first of all let me just take this little detour down to Abbotsford Park. Now this is the former home of J.K. Rowling, and I'm not sure when she lived here, but by the size of the place I think she was doing alright. As we turn the corner here, that's her old house just in behind those gates on the left hand side. And a quick turnaround just to get us back on track here, and you'll see our house just the last big house on the right hand side. There's offices in the garden as well, and I just wonder if she maybe did some writing here. So here we are back at Holy Corner with Morningside down to the right, but we'll be taking a left turn through Bruntsfield and towards the city centre. Bruntsfield's another great place to come for a bite to eat in Edinburgh, and just beyond those flats on the right hand side there you'll see Bruntsfield Links opening up beyond. Now this is one of the earliest locations golf was known to be played in Scotland, and it's also home to the Golf Tavern, which reportedly dates to 1456. Today there's still a little pitch and putt course here, just bring your own clubs and it's free to play anytime. As we round this bend on the road, the building you'll see right in the far distance there in the middle, that's actually Edinburgh Castle. And on the right hand side you can see the spire of Barclay Viewforth Church. That's certainly one of my favourite buildings in the whole city. Just coming up on the right hand side soon is another of Edinburgh's famous buildings, the King's Theatre. Now I've only been here a couple of times, but I can remember being up in the balcony and it was so steep that I was getting dizzy. I've certainly not got a head for heights. We're just about to pass the Cameo on the left hand side, that's another of Edinburgh's great little independent cinemas, and then we're on to Tollcross. Now at Tollcross we'll veer left onto Lothian Road, and that'll take us all the way to Princes Street and the city centre. Now there wasn't too much to talk about at the start of Lothian Road, but as we get to the other end there's a few more places of interest. On the left hand side we've got the Film House, and on the right hand side that's where you'll find the Usher Hall, the Traverse Theatre and the Lyceum Theatre. As we get to Princes Street, look out for the Calais Hotel on the left hand side. The Calais Hotel is that red brick building on the left hand side, and for better or worse it's now called the Waldorf Astoria Caledonian Hotel. Princes Street has a major landmark hotel at either end, so this is the Calais Hotel at the west end, and if you go to the east end you've got the Balmoral, which sits right next to Waverley Station. This is about as much a Princes Street that we can drive on these days, so what we'll do here is take a left and round to Charlotte Square. Now Charlotte Square is a great look at the architecture of Edinburgh's New Town, which is a UNESCO World Heritage Site. Here you'll find Bute House, which is the official residence of the First Minister of Scotland, and also the Georgian House, which is a glimpse into how the wealthier residents of Edinburgh would have lived at the end of the 18th century. Now I drive so little in the city that I had no idea that I couldn't get out this way, so we'll just double back and look for another way out of the square. You're probably starting to notice that I didn't plan this route at all today. I'm just going around and trying to avoid traffic, but still show you as much of the city centre and the main sites as possible. We're now on Queensferry Street. Now this is one of the main streets out of Edinburgh. This will take you on towards Queensferry, the Forth Bridges and the Kingdom of Fife. Regular buses run all the way out to Queensferry, and this is where in summer you can catch the ferry over to Inchcolm Island. Now we had a video on Inchcolm Island, so I'll pop a link just above. We're just about to cross the Dean Bridge, which sits high above the water of Leith, and the Dean Village, which is just down the road to the left there. Now thankfully the Dean Village isn't too car friendly, so although I can't show you that today, it's a place we would thoroughly recommend you go if you're in town. We'll take a right turn here off Queensferry Street as we stick more to the city centre. This will take us down towards Comley Bank and Stockbridge. Although we're very much still in the city centre, you wouldn't know it down here. These parts of town have much more of a village feel, and that's one of the real advantages of Edinburgh. We're now driving round St Bernard's Crescent and we'll go on to Danube Street. Now as you can tell by the architecture, this is still very much part of the new town. Danube Street for some reason has always been one of my favourite streets in Edinburgh, and as soon as we win the lottery, this is where we'll call home. As beautiful as it is here, Edinburgh's old cobblestones were guy slippy, so we slowed down a bit to go around this corner. We're now heading down Comleybank Avenue and this leads on to Fettes Avenue for as long as the eye can see. This will lead us down to Stockbridge proper, but again we'll take a little detour to show you one of the most beautiful schools in town. So here we are at Fettes College. Imagine being able to say you went to school here. Well, people like Tilda Swinton, Tony Blair and Tommy Armour could say just that. This is us now on Rayburn Place, which runs right through the heart of Stockbridge. From here we'll head back up through the new town to the city centre and eventually onto the castle. Despite being another expensive part of town, Stockbridge has got some amazing second-hand shops to come and have a rummage through. It's worth mentioning that despite never-ending hills like this one, Edinburgh is still very much a walking city. Normally, of course, the wind will be blowing you over and the rain pelting off your face, but it's still more enjoyable than trying to get parked anywhere near the centre. Here we are right back in the centre of the city on George Street. Now we've already been to Charlotte Square, which was at one end of George Street, and what we'll do now is head along to the other end and St Andrew's Square. George Street runs parallel to Princes Street. Now Princes Street used to be one of the main shopping streets in Edinburgh, but now a lot of the flagship high-end stores have moved back to George Street, and this makes for one of the more pleasant shopping experiences in the city. Here we are now approaching St Andrew's Square, which is marked by the Melville Monument right in the centre of the gardens. This is where you come for some fancy restaurants and stores, places like Louis Vuitton, Harvey Nichols or the Ivy. And there's a lot that goes on here at the Christmas market as well, and you can normally come here ice skating. You can see the bus station just to the left there, and Waverley train station's only about 5 minutes walk from here as well. We're back on George Street now and just passing the dome on the left there. That's absolutely beautifully decorated at Christmas time. And what we'll do, we'll take a left here, go across the Mound, and that'll take us up towards the castle. The building right in front of us there is the Royal Scottish Academy. That's home to contemporary Scottish art, and there we can see a nice view of the castle just in front of us. As we come to the top of the Mound here, we can see the General Assembly Hall of the Church of Scotland just in front of us. This is where the creation of a Scottish Parliament was agreed in 1989, and it was also used as a debating chamber for the Parliament for 5 years while the new building was being completed. We'll be driving past the new Parliament building soon. We're just about to turn right onto Edinburgh's most famous street, the Royal Mile, which is also known as the High Street. Now that runs from the Palace of Holyroodhouse down at the bottom all the way to the castle at the top. And what we'll do just now is head right up to the castle. The building there with the Gothic spire and the red door, that's the hub. That's home to the Edinburgh International Festival. So it was a quiet place this year. Just coming up on the left now is the Witchery. Now that's one of the places to stay and to eat in Edinburgh, that's for sure. And that leads us right up to Castle Rock and the Esplanade, where we'll see the castle right in front of us. Now I wasn't aware I could even drive up here, and I certainly wouldn't be able to if it was a normal summer, because this is where they hold the Royal Military Tattoo, and there'd be a massive stadium around this whole car park. I had hoped to be able to drive you down the full length of the Royal Mile, but unfortunately part of the road at the moment is pedestrianised, so we'll just go down as far as St Giles Cathedral and then we'll do a quick U-turn there. The building right in front there is the city chambers, but more interestingly, this is also the entrance to the real Mary King's Close. That's a section of old Edinburgh that was closed off hundreds of years ago under the current streets. Why was it closed? Because of a plague epidemic. Sound familiar? We're now on George IV Bridge and passing the National Library, but see that red building on the right? That's the Elephant House Cafe. It calls itself the birthplace of Harry Potter. Not quite true, but parts of some of the later books were written here. Now who can spot Greyfriars Bobby on the right? Sorry to say, another completely fictional tale. Ahead of us now is Bristol Square, and if you study at the University of Edinburgh, this place will be very familiar. Our next destination is Holyrood Park, the Queen's Park, and that's about 3 or 4 minutes drive from here. You can just about see the summit of Arthur's Seat off there in the distance, and that's where we're headed to now. As we turn this corner, the building just in front of us is the Royal Commonwealth Pool. Now this was host venue for 3 different Commonwealth Games in 1970, 1986 and as recently as 2014 for the diving. So here we are driving into Holyrood Park, and that's Arthur's Seat right in front of us. That's the highest point in Edinburgh. Now there is a road that goes slightly higher than the one we're on just now, but that's closed today I'm afraid. So we will drive to the bottom of Holyrood Park where we'll find the Palace and the Parliament building. To have this amazing park right in the centre of the city is such a bonus. There's so many trails and challenges here to keep you fit. I'm just sorry you can't see much of it from my dashcam here. So here we are right at the foot of the Royal Mile, and on the left we've got the Scottish Parliament building that was opened in 2004, and on the right we've got the Palace of Holyroodhouse, which is the official royal residence in Scotland. We actually did a video from here just a few weeks ago, so I'll pop a link above. This is us heading up the lower section of the Royal Mile now. Now this is the very same road that would have taken us all the way up to the castle. We're now crossing over towards the Pleasance, and just on the right hand side there you get a wee glimpse of the Flodden Wall. Now that was a 16th century defensive wall for Edinburgh. In a roundabout sort of way we're now heading for the Grassmarket, but there are a few roadworks in Edinburgh at the moment, so we need to take a bit of a detour to get there. By the way, this park we're just about to cut through is called the Meadows. It's a large flat grassy area right in the middle of the city, so it's super popular for sports, or if there's a hint of sunshine in summer, it's absolutely packed. There used to actually be a loch here, and that provided most of the drinking water for the city back in the 17th century. If you remember Bruntsfield links from earlier, well that's it on the left hand side and the flatter Meadows is on the right hand side, so we're doing a bit of a figure of 8 today through the city. As we exit the Meadows, you can see here what a typical flat looks like in Edinburgh. Big solid buildings built in the early 20th century and still going strong today. If you live in a flat in Edinburgh, chances are it'll look like one of these. We're now back on familiar ground as we approach Tollcross from the other side this time, and then we've got a big loop round to the right as we go towards the Grassmarket. After that big old detour, we've finally made it down to the Grassmarket, a historic old town marketplace. Today though, it's really just bars and restaurants, but it's still one of the most popular places in Edinburgh, with great views up over the castle. We'll now head down the Cowgate, cross back through the heart of the city, and onwards towards Leith. We're just about to cross Princes Street again, a street with a very different personality depending which side you happen to be on. One side is the castle and beautiful gardens, the other is phone shops, tacky souvenirs and empty storefronts. It's sad to see, and something really needs to be done to bring it back to former glory. That's the portrait gallery over there on the right hand side, a building every bit as impressive as its paintings, and my favourite gallery in town. As we approach the top of Leith Walk, you can see the Playhouse Theatre just over there on the right hand side. Now the building doesn't look much from here, but this is actually the UK's biggest theatre, with a capacity over 3,000 and also the biggest stage as well. Leithers tend to see themselves as separate from Edinburgh, and I think Leith deserves a separate video as well, so that's something I'll definitely be doing in 2021. For now though, driving here is not much fun. I believe they're extending the trams, and I guess that's what all the roadworks are for. So another detour, here we come. So we're rejoining Leith Walk here at Pilrig Street, and we'll cut right across to Easter Road, home of the famous Hibs Football Club. As we're just about to turn left onto Easter Road, You might be able to just about make out the top of the football stadium straight ahead between the flats. Down here at the bottom of Easter Road, a right turn would take us out to Portobello, Musselburgh and the rest of East Lothian. But we'll finish off today with a wee drive through the back streets down where the water of Leith meets the River Forth. Thanks so much for coming along for the drive today, all the best and I'll see you soon.